Alright guys, this is the max velocity video. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. So here we got Alexander, I'm pretty sure. As you can see, as he's coming through, he's got good flight time. One thing that I do see is upon landing, his leg is actually not landing stiff. So land. And you can see the slight buckle in his leg, right? We want this to actually land a little bit more stiff and more directly underneath you here, Alex. So let's go ahead and see from a side view. This left leg, contact. You see the bend in the knee? We don't want a bend in the knee on contact. We actually want this to be as straight as possible. So if this is the back of the ankle, well, this is the ankle, and that's the hip. We'd want that knee to be in aligned. So you can see it's a little bit, there's actually a bend in this knee from this hip, from the knee down to the ankle. We don't want that, right? We do not want that bend in the leg. We want that to be as stiff as a contact as possible. But as you can see, as this other leg is starting to come through, the leg that you're actually pulling off of, that is pretty good. We like that ankle, but that we want to try to make sure that this back leg is landing straight and stiff straight down. So let's see how the rest of this run looks. Oops. So he's coming up, this leg is hammering down. I do like that the foot is dorsiflexed. Down, down, down. Lands. That foot actually is landing in front of your center of mass as well. So we don't want our foot contact ever to be, let's see. It looks like your foot right here in this frame is actually about to land right here, and this is your center of mass. So you want your foot to strike right below you, but you can still see you have that slight bend in your knee. We want that to be as stiff as possible. We do not want any slight of bend in our knee in max velocity. But let's just give you the benefit of the doubt and say you actually landed here, right? So we're saying that's your true ground contact time, your ground contact. That's still bent leg, right? We can still see that there is a bent leg here. From there, right? Since it's a 112-degree angle, we want that to be just a flat, straight frontal plane, right? We don't want any bend in that at all whatsoever. We want this leg to be straight on ground contact. We don't want any bend at all. This has to be a straight line, not a bend and a bend. So, there you go, Alex. You have something you can work on, and let's go hop into the next one real quick. Alright, so let's see what you got here. Coming through, land, contact. So this is a much better example of how you want your actual foot to land, right? As you can see on this one, it's still bent. It's bent right here. This leg over here is bent. The left leg is bent right here. We don't want any bent leg. We want to see that land straight and as stiff as possible. We don't want to have a bent leg on forceful steps at any point in time in max velocity. That is an absolute no-go. We don't want to have a bent in the leg. But your step before was pretty good, so let's go back to that one. This one, you coming down, foot lands stiff. You see how that foot contact is stiff? And you can see straight through that line from the ankle, knee to hip. There's a little bit of collapse here, but it's not nearly as much as your left leg or in a video like Alexander had in the leg before. You want to make sure that straight line, stiff as heck on ground contact. Now the next thing I want you to look at here that you should be focusing on is look how high this right arm comes up in your max velocity swing. Comes up, and that's it. That's as high as your arm come. Whenever you're swinging your arms, you got to always think you got to put your arm behind your pocket. So behind your glute, extend back, and on your way up, it's got to come all the way up to your chin. If your swing isn't coming up to your chin, it's only coming up to maybe halfway, like how it is in this video, you're shortening your stride way too long, way too short. You're shortening your stride. So you need to increase your stride length by completing the full arm swing of chin to behind the glute. We call it chin to pocket, right? But obviously you're going to have your hand back further behind your pocket. But just a little bit of thought of chin to pocket, chin to pocket. Because you're really shortening your arms, you're really shortening your swings, and it's going to ultimately hurt you in the long run. Alright, now let's go look at the next video. We got some fly work into some wickets. Let's watch it full speed. Yeah. So we see, you can see the rhythm change in these wickets, right? You're coming in flying, flying, flying. But my assumption is that you're trying to cover the distance. So you start actually striding longer. And striding longer is going to actually make you forcefully slow down more. So you can see how fast you're coming in on the wickets. The goal of the wickets is not to increase your stride length to the point that you're changing your frequency. You don't want to change your frequency. The goal for a wicket is to actually be able to learn how to be more intentful with foot strike. That's going to in return allow you to have greater stride length if you're using it for a stride length drill. But in order to incorporate this at the level that you need to be incorporated at, there's no point in having a stride, it's maybe 7 feet in between, if you aren't able to keep a rhythm throughout the entire thing. Because the rhythm is more important. Establishing a rhythm that you can hold throughout an entire race, that's going to allow you to have greater stride length. So you can visibly see the moment when you start to reach for these wickets. See fast, look at the rhythm in the hands. You can actually even listen to the difference in the foot strike. You can hear when you start to get long. Let's see if the mic pick it up. Listen. I don't know if you was able to hear that, but you can hear where the foot starts to die down a little bit. But let's go a little bit deeper into the actual mechanics here. That back arm got to be 90. Because if you release this arm, you're going to actually release the stretch reflex that you would get from your pec, your deltoid, and your bicep. So if you release your arm, you're instantly losing tension. But if you keep your arm back after it passed your hip, you're keeping tension. But as soon as you relax your arm, you're losing tension. You can even try it right now. So if you just go 90 degrees behind your back, arm like this, versus 90 degrees when you relax, when you extend the arm, those are two different forms of actual tension. So you want to keep the shoulders relaxed and loose, but you still want to keep the tension in which you're actually swinging that back arm. And it also appears that this front arm is in front of your face a little bit instead of here, right? You want to make sure it's actually aligned this way in each arm swing. If it starts to come here, then you're actually hindering your ability to produce force in the most natural, efficient fashion possible. So chin to chest, that long lever of that back arm comes through. I'd like to see the hand come up a little higher as well. That front arm swing through, landing. Maybe a little bit in front of center mass, but maybe not. I think that's pretty good, in pretty good landing position. coming off of it. Landing. I would like to see better backside mechanics. You can see how you're really cycling that leg instead of pulling it through. So right here, this back leg, I wanted this to pull straight through here, right? Instead, you're doing something similar to this, right? It's coming here. Let me just draw it back here. It's coming here and it's cycling down, right? That's what this back leg looked like now, but I just want it to come through, up, and hammer down. Instead, it's a little bit more of a cycling fashion, right? So let's see how that leg cycles back, that backside mechanic. Knee, cycle, hits the butt a little bit, coming through, up, now hammering down. It's going to create a longer ground contact time. And if you can see, your left leg isn't cycling as high, right? So it's coming through and it's actually being pulled. Look how you pull that through. And look how much faster you can get off of this right step. Boom, you're off it, right? But if you go back one stride before and that leg comes up and it does that big ass cycle like it does here, look how much longer this ground contact is. Contact, cycle through, here comes a leg, 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 then you're off of it. Instead, when you have proper front side mechanics, by limiting the backside mechanics that occur from that butt kick, that large cycle that you do, you can see how much faster you come off the ground. So right there, you start to pull it through, not so big of a butt swing, land, and look how fast you come off of this leg. Because in max velocity, the goal is to maximize air time. And in acceleration, the goal is to maximize ground contact time. So the relationship between air time and ground time it changes from once you reach its max velocity. When you're in acceleration, you want to maximize your ground contact time. When you're in max velocity or top speed, you want to maximize your air time. And the only way to maximize your air time is by spending less time on the ground in max velocity. But to spend less time on the ground in max velocity, the amount of time that you're on the ground has to be an immense amount of force that you're allowing yourself to spin in the air almost as if you're floating. But if you're having that large back cycle, you're gonna have a longer ground contact time in max velocity, which is what you don't want. But as you can see here with the proper front side mechanics, the proper back side mechanics, look how much faster you're gonna come off of this step versus the one before. Land underneath you, land underneath you, and you're off of it. That's 523 versus you land at 511 and you're off of it, and 522, 521. So that's less than a hundredth. That's less than a tenth of a second, right? So that's probably the timing is wrong, but still, let's go back to the other one. Look how long this foot is on the ground. You land at 580. Say you land at 582. 83. Let's say you land at 583. Let's see how long it takes for you to get off of that one. $96. We're still on the ground. We're off 97, right? So that's more than a tenth difference. That's like 0.13 instead of 0.8. Right, now do 0.8 versus 0.13 for 40, let's say you take 15 strides, another 32 strides, right? That's 0.14, that's 0.04 for 30 strides. That's already 0.5 difference, right? In the entire race, by just having that wrong of backside mechanics. That's the difference between 11.5 and 11 flat. So these are the details that matter in terms of sprinting. I hope you guys enjoyed this max velocity video, and I'll see you in the next one.